Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Morning, everybody. It's Friday. I'm excited to have the week over. I don't know why. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm a little tired. You know what? I was way more tired yesterday than I realized, but I'm feeling pretty good this morning. We got a bunch of economic reports this morning. So, core PCE price index, probably the most important, personal spending, personal income. And then we even have some market manufacturing news, releases later on. And then we have consumer sentiment. So, a lot of really important stuff. Also, the E-mini is taking off here. I don't know why. let's come to the charts here. So you can see rarely significant move. That looks like news. It might be off of Congress making some deal over the infrastructure bill. Could be. I'm not sure. Treasuries a little bit higher. So I didn't even say yesterday was just like a huge doozy. And I think that what was happening is risk parity funds rebalancing because the bonds just got so destroyed this week that they're going to have to sell their stocks and buy the bonds. And you could see it was quite an exaggerated effect here this month. Stocks just got absolutely pummeled and treasuries got bid. Well, now it's a new month. I think that we might still see that flow persist a little bit more today. But then it's probably past and we move on to, this economic news and the whole supply issues and energy problems thing. So that's kind of where we're at on that. Oil is down a little bit just off of, risk sentiment, but you can see the natural gas is just like all over the place. It's just like a wild, crazy trade still. And gold was great. So that might have just been like, it was way too oversold. I don't know. Because it really kind of moved all on its own. Copper even extending the move a little bit. Silver. Copper doing pretty good here too. It's like all of the metals up, kind of following each other. We also can see here the dollar. Well, it's still pretty high, but it's not as high as it was yesterday, so that's good, I suppose. And now Bitcoin is seeing like quite the move today and yesterday. So this looks like a large meta order. Like this looks like large meta order buying at 40K. So I don't know. Is this going to spur some interest? I'm not sure, but that's definitely a good move for Bitcoin. All right, so we can come back here. We're going to just search around on the news here to see if we can figure out what is going on. Dow futures rebound, blah, 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 blah. Futures reverse earlier stagflationary losses as dollar dumps and cryptos soar. Congressional deal. I don't actually see a driver for it. I don't know. I guess it was just a really good move. I don't know. I mean, it did take over a period of time. So that was maybe a large meta order, maybe a European doing something. Doesn't look like it was a news-driven move or like a what do we call it? Breaking news move. Let's turn on the text to speech. Just make sure that financial juice is on. Now, Win wasn't here yesterday, but yes, I have the ladder in the background. So I think that I'm going to have to put...
Mom says today is Oct 1 Stone. You have the 30 TH in the title and good morning at Speculators Day Trading.
Oh, you're right. Let's fix that. 01 October. They delayed the vote. Oh, yes, that's right. Well, I was kind of implying maybe it's something like, and that changed. Politico. Let's see if they get anything. No, their latest headline is still that she delayed the infrastructure vote. Anyways, and I've got Grogu on there. I've got the Baby Yoda and the Jolteon that you guys liked. But and I got some books, but really I think at some point it's just going to be all books. But for now, I'm going to have to probably get some more stuff and kind of improve it slowly over time. Now, how come my treasuries are not giving me data? Oh, because they need to be rolled over. Duh. Okay, well, here comes the news. Okay, so personal income in line, real personal consumption in line, PCE price index, core spot 3 versus spot 2, and PCE spot 4 versus spot 3. Not as bad as it could have been. That's interesting that the treasuries are pushing up on that. So we should be on 1021. So this should be 2-year. Five-year. 10-year. 30-year. I was listening to the Talking Politics chatter, and they were saying Democrats still don't know what Christian Sienma wants. She is unclear and vague and won't answer questions. Okay, so I think I can explain this one. Yeah, so there was a clip yesterday where the reporters were saying Democrats don't know where you stand. And she said, "What do you mean? I'm standing here in front of the elevator in front of the Capitol." And so they're frustrated. And there's this whole thing like, what is it that she wants? As though it's like there's a couple of little check boxes that they just need to give her the right pork, and then she will acquiesce and let them have their infrastructure bill. No, it's guys, you want a $3.5 trillion bill you guys are trying to push through. There's a $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill. That infrastructure bill alone is huge. And she's in on that. She's not in on like being completely fiscally irresponsible. I don't think that it's really complicated to see what it is that her and Manchin want. You know, you're not just gonna like change a few things here on the edge and get her to come along. You know. Oh, you know what? I need to fix this over here. That's a little better. I had moved my laser eye. Hello, how are you? That's a new name I don't recognize. I got that. I was moving my stuff around and one of my lights was moved and I had to move it back. Oh man, so you know what happened to me yesterday? So I got all of this stuff for my light board and I actually did kind of get it working. So like a really good, much more dense LEDs, looks pretty good. And the board that I'm using is a different board than the one that I was using on my first attempt. And so all of the code that I was relying on to do it doesn't work on the new board because it was like low level assembly stuff. And like the way that the registers work and everything on this new board is completely different. So it doesn't work at all. So I spent all this time. Eventually, I determined that probably the processor on that board is fast enough that I can just use this library and just program things straight, which is actually good for me. It makes it a lot easier to program. No. Oh, yeah, Captain Price is flawed. Yes, that's right. Oh, yes, Win wasn't there that day, too. That's funny. Oh, that was like a Monday. Anyways... So I spent all day, like literally all day yesterday in between. Well, I mean, I wasn't working on it exclusively because I was doing real work. But in between waiting for things and stuff like that, I was researching, trying to figure out how LEDs would go. So I'm over here like trying to improve the solders or do whatever it is that I got to do to get it so that the last LED will light up, right? And then something weird, I don't know what I did. I'm still, I mean, I unsoldered all the wires off because these things right here, these like plug into it. I want to keep these. I want to use these. So I took them all off, so I can't really see what it was that it was doing. But yeah, this one, for instance, there's like a little, oh, you can't even see these. There's like this wire looks like melted, and it's because the power cables, the 5-volt cables coming off of the power supply were getting hot, and they got so hot that they were melting the plastic. So I'm like trying to figure it out and everything, and I think what I did was I unscrewed those to kind of try and look at some stuff and like rearrange things. And when I screwed them back into the power supply, I think I put them in the wrong way. The video stream is blurred. If the whole thing is blurred, then you might need to go and change the like if you go into the corner and change the settings. Or just wait. Yeah. YouTube says that the connection is excellent for me, so it's probably just that your connection decided this morning to only be in like 100p or whatever it is. Yep. Or if you're on mobile, you got to go in and change it to. Yeah, there it says that it changed. Yeah. Anyways, so when I did that and I turned it on, the power supply starts going, you know, like it does this weird thing when there's like a short. And then the chip started smoking. Like crap. And I was only plugged in like that for like a split second. Like literally a split second. But it was fried. Like I tried turning, you know, I fixed it. I tried turning it on. It didn't turn on at all. So isn't that huge? Still is like a $20 Arduino Nano board, but oh man, I fried it. And at that point it was like 6 o'clock or something. Like I had been working on it for a long time, and it didn't get it to work. It was so disheartening. But I want to put it right here. I want to put it right here between the chalkboard and the ladder, and have like a stock ticker on it, or maybe even program it to put your messages on it. That's why I got the different board, because I do get this old board that I have. It works. That one works. But I want one that has Wi-Fi built in it. So this one has Wi-Fi built into it. So hopefully I can get that to work, and then it could use your comments, or it could do all sorts of crazy stuff. Okay, so interesting to me that the treasuries are bid here after all of that news. You'd say the 8:30 a.m. report's mostly good? Well, so let's go back through them, right? We had the consumer spending month over month was spot 8 versus spot 7, slightly above expectations. Personal income in line at spot 2 versus an expected spot 2. Real personal consumption month over month, spot 4 versus an expected spot 4. Okay, U.S. core PCE price index month over month, spot 3 versus spot 2. So it was higher than expected, but that's like within the normal range of error, 1/10%. So pretty typical. Same with the PCE price index. Okay, so those were all the numbers that we had released. So the inflation was slightly higher than expected, so that's not good, but it's within tolerance. And consumer spending was slightly better than expected. Like that to me is not news that I would expect to make a move, right? And in all fairness, we're only up like 4 ticks in the treasury, but it does look like it's bid. So it may well be that we're continuing to see end of month flows here. Like that tends to persist, and the treasuries tend to be bid on the first few days of the month as well. So, oh man! So then there's another thing that I'm doing today is I got this new mouse pad. I got a glorious PC gaming ice mat, and it's weird. It's so weird because it is a cloth. It is definitely a cloth mouse pad, but the surface of it is like smooth plastic. So I put my mouse on it, and like if I move it the right way and let go of it, it just moves on its own because the cord tries to extend and push it. Isn't that crazy? I don't know if I like it or not, but I got it because that other mouse pad was just being way too rough on my wrist. So hopefully this is a little bit better. Now, we've got those market, well, are they market? No, they're ISM manufacturing numbers at 10 o'clock Eastern time, and the consumer sentiment numbers. Those may actually end up being more influential than the numbers that we just saw, so keep that in mind too. Otherwise, I don't know. I think we'll just kind of wait. I mean, we could try jumping on this little rise in the treasury here, but I'm thinking that I want to just kind of sit back for a little bit and see it do its thing. Let the E-mini come back a little bit there. I don't know. Let's come look around, see if we get anything. Not really seeing any commentary on the news that we just had. Mm-mm-mm. I'm also wondering about this cryptocurrency move, Vinex is like, Bloomberg probably just asked Tether to comment on a story that's bad news. Tether informed their contacts that it's pump time to deflect the bad news. Probably, it does look like a large buy meta order to intentionally move the market up. Some crypto exchange must have gotten some bad news. They all think it's a pump and dump. Well, we'll see. We'll see if it actually is. Oh, what's this? Why do I have... Okay, cool. Let's fix that. Do see some commentary that, the overnight move was stagflationary, but stumbled onto Oliver's time machine. Hard to believe I wrote those dedicated. That's weird. Michael Berry tweeting last night, my theory on why Asperger's syndrome is officially no longer a thing. The powerful autism lobby needed to protect its turf, and tenured powerful positions depend on it. Asperger's was about to take over the world, so it had to be disappeared. Honest. What? Okay. And then he also says ADHD is part of Asperger's. Many diagnosed with ADHD, over the years really have Asperger's syndrome, made sometimes only obvious over the arc of one's life. They are related disorders, yes. They're related disorders, yes, but Asperger's is like a very different brain structure sort of a problem. Like, the most ADHD people are really have the opposite problem of a person with Asperger's. Like, a person with Asperger's tends to not really understand social situations and tends to not care about things when they should. And an ADHD person can get like overly it can have a hard time dealing with their emotions and get overly focused and pulled into the emotional situations like that. I could see why an Asperger person would want to try and categorize them all in the same bucket as them, though. Yeah, and that's about everything interesting in Twitter overnight. By the way, yesterday, I said make sure you guys follow me on Twitter and on TikTok, and I see a lot of people went over and looked at Twitter, so thank you very much. That helps a lot. There's 132. So I was seeing a little bit of distribution there, but it's not like a ton. They might, I don't know. I'm not so anxious to fade that, actually. Dave Velke says that's cap. They have totally different presentations. Well, they're very related disorders because they both have to deal with neurotransmitters in the brain. But Asperger's, I think, is a much more severe, for starters. And feel like I'm looking down a lot. It must be because I need to move the this monitor probably needs to be bumped up a little bit, but I'm gonna have to do that another day. I can feel that the heater turned on. So it's all of a sudden it's getting hot in here. I don't know. If he finds the stream, he finds the stream. It's kind of funny. We have this huge Discord and we never use it to promote the stream. But it wasn't created for the stream, right? The Discord was created first and then the YouTube created something. And it's funny, it's like a completely different, like you'll notice the guys that chat here on YouTube, and it's literally like Win is here almost every day. Vlad is here practically every day. AO, he's new, but he's here every day. It's like the same 12 guys or so keep the stream going. Super dedicated. Completely different group of people from the people that are on the Discord. You almost never see any of them on the Discord. I don't know. It's kind of funny, right? It's just a wasteland. No, there's a lot of activity on the Discord, really. When you consider that like people are actively trading while they're doing this and everything, it's actually quite active. It's also like in terms of the number of people in it, like the number of people online and the total number of people that just been through it, it's probably the largest futures trading focused Discord out there. Rasmussen reports unaffiliated voters 54% against raising the debt ceiling. 56% oppose this $3.5 trillion bill. 56% believe the pandemic a Trojan horse for permanent socialism. Why is the heater turning on? It's getting hot in here. Even though I have the vent closed. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh has tested positive for COVID-19, has no symptoms. Well, 132 even is being a little tough there. Someone turned on our furnace overnight. No one will admit to it. I should come in here and adjust the schedule because, yeah. See, this is it shouldn't be that. It should just always be. Should always be the upper bound 70 and the lower bound 68. Paste it to every day. There. I just don't want it to be heating things up. Wait, why do I see AO asking Ace Trades, how are you? I don't see Ace talking. That's weird. That's weird. Someone turned on our furnace overnight. No one will admit to it, and I am investigating. This is definitely on. It's really irritating because there's no reason for it to be on, but whatever. And so I need to go and change all of the vents because when it turns on, it really comes out on mine. Now that's a little weird that I would have thought that with them falling back to 31. Okay, now they did it. I was like, with them falling back to 31, isn't this like it should be at 5? 1 spot 5. You miss Ace. It's only been 1 day, bud. He'll be back. Well, it was a good try, but you have a boiler system with radiators? Is that old house? You guys seen the Lina? You watch Lina? I like Lina's Tech Tips. That's probably the YouTube channel I watch the most. Like the only one that I really watch regularly every day. And he bought a house that it's old. Like I think it was built in the early 90s. So you would think that it's not that old, but like it just seems so dated. I think it's because it was like when it was built, it was probably considered a really nice house, right? So they had all sorts of weird, interesting things built into it. Like they had, like the radiator pipes underneath of the floor to heat things. Oh, it's an interesting to watch. And I think that they bought that house specifically because they're like, yes, and then we're going to make it the ultimate smart home. Good luck with that. Especially if it involves soldering anything. Because as if you missed my story earlier, I fried my Arduino Nano 33 IoT because I plugged in the wrong side. I plugged the positive into the negative and the negative into the positive. My home is dumb, no cap. Well, you know what? So I got... I have a Nest. Okay, I have a Nest. I regret purchasing the Nest. I honestly do. The microphone has kind of fallen on me a little bit. I regret buying the Nest because it just freaking it never keeps the house the temperature that I want, and in particular this room always seems to be too hot. My father-in-law did the wiring in this place, and he was creative. Man, my dad, he's done a lot of like do-it-yourself home stuff in his day. I think that a big part of it was that his dad was like, I think that they were I think his dad was an architect and his uncles were contractors. And so when he was younger, he did a lot of that sort of thing, right? And then he finished our basement in our old house and everything like that. But when he's been over here and he's been doing stuff, like I'm starting to, now I'm old enough to see, and I'm like, man, he is really bad at like measuring stuff and getting it right. Like he will measure it like 3 times and he'll lay it all out. He'll draw a picture and he'll spend 10 minutes doing something that like a regular more like 30 minutes doing something that regular contractors do in like 10 seconds. You know, like, okay, needs to be here. Draw the line, cut it, done, right? He'll go and do that and then completely get the measurement wrong and have to go and do it again. So often. I think it's probably my dad is more ADHD than me and never got diagnosed is what I think, but he refuses to go and look at it. I mean, he's in his 60s, so whatever. I don't know. The treasuries are kind of giving me a hint here that they want to try and extend above 132. He accidentally electrified the garbage. What? How do you do? Okay. How do you do that? You gonna go long on ZF? Well, it is steepening this morning. Mixed up a ground wire with a live one. I really got to figure out what was it that I did, because it I thought, okay, maybe what I'm trying to do is just like straight up wrong, like you can't put that wire there, or I don't know, but there must have been a short, because there's Uzi. So I'll tell Uzi this story now, okay? I'm trying to make a light board. So I got a power supply, a 5-volt power supply, and a bunch of LEDs, and the Arduino. Okay. So I got everything. I've done this before. I had it all wired up and I got it to work, but there was 2 problems with it. One was that the LEDs weren't really close enough, so the effect wasn't very good. And the other issue was that I couldn't control it from over here. I could only put something on the Arduino and let it go. So I went and I bought new LEDs and I bought new Arduino unit that has Wi-Fi built into it. Okay. So that new unit has a completely different chipset. So I had to completely redo all of my programming bit. I was using somebody else's code. I had to throw that away, find a framework, and write my own thing. So I finally get to the point where all of my LEDs should be spitting something out, right? And they're not all working. So I'm turning the board on. Maybe I shouldn't be soldering it while it's on, but that's what I'm doing. Soldering it while it's on to try and fix those connections so that last strip of LEDs will work. And I notice that the wires that I've got coming off of the 5-volt power supply are getting really hot. And I'm like, well, they weren't getting hot on the old one, but I don't know if that's really a big deal. So I just kind of ignored it, right? Well, the wires like started to melt. Like they literally started to melt. So I'm doing all this stuff. I completely unattach it from the power supply so that I can flip it around and look at it and do, I have a couple of theories, but I really have no clue what I'm doing. I have like a little electrical tester, but the electrical tester doesn't really seem to be telling me anything because it just seems like everything is what it should be. So I put it all back together and I accidentally put the positive wire into the negative wire and vice versa in the power supply. So as soon as I plugged the power supply in, smoke started coming off of the processor, and I only had it in there for like a second, but it was too late, and that chipset was fried. It wouldn't turn on. I plugged it into the machine. It wouldn't do anything. So I don't know what I did. There must have been like some stray wire that was, I don't know. Oh, maybe it is one of these. Maybe the problem is with these. Like, maybe one of these wires melted into the other one. Well, there's some, I don't know. Like I feel like that what must have had to have happened is that one of the data lines got power onto it somehow. I don't know. That's a bit more complex than the electrical work that I've done. Well, it's not really, because it's just a a wire to, well, okay, I'll explain how I was doing it. I'll draw a picture for you, okay? I'll draw a picture of what I had to do. Okay, so what I do is I've got like 7 LEDs. So there's 7 LED strips. So there's a ground and a power for each one of these, right? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the power and the ground for the chipset. Right. So then I've got the chipset here. And so I have the wire come in here for, so this was the one is the plus wire and one is the minus wire, right? And then had one going over to the ground here and one going over to the VIN here, right? And then off of that, there was the LEDs coming off, right? The LEDs come off like that and go to the LED strip like that. And then there's a third wire, which is the data wire. And the data wire attaches into the Arduino on the Arduino pin like that. And that's it. Like that's all there is to it. But it seemed like to me, because one of the things that happened was like I seemed to fix it, but then all of a sudden like the units stopped working. And it was almost like something had connected all of these. Something had connected all of these and was putting power through it so that all of the LEDs were always on. Okay, LEDs are diodes. No, it wasn't the LEDs that got fried. It was the chipset that got fried. So when I reversed the polarity on it, there was this little like power regulator chip on the chipset that just like started smoking. In fact, I can tell you, everyone can look at the thing, can determine what it was. That's not what I want. I want the documentation. Okay, it was this thing right here. It was that thing was like it got fried. Maybe possible that I didn't have. Hold on a second. I went and I looked at the thing that I threw in the trash, and I was thinking about it. So what if the VIN was working fine and the ground wire wasn't connected very well? Maybe that could cause it to happen. LEDs are, oh no. Short circuit, then this couldn't happen with a diode in the circuit? I don't know. I just know that thing got fried when I reversed the polarity. but more to the point though is like the bigger problem is like, okay, before I did that, why was the wire getting hot? Because on my previous attempt, that did not happen. That did not happen. Why would that happen? I can't for the life of me. I think that can happen if you connect. Wouldn't that happen like if you took the positive wire and the negative wire and you just connected them together? It would spark, of course, but then wouldn't it get hot then? Isn't that what would happen? So was there some sort of a short? The ground is for the transistors, yeah. I'm talking about the board part. Right. So I have a little so I have a thing that's like, okay, coming off of 7. It was coming off of 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then those go into these little wires that are like this. So there's the middle one, and then there's the ground and the live wire, right? So I had the ground and the live wire. I just had like a line of them. Like I just took a wire and laid it down the whole back of it, and then soldered down it so that all of these wires were just connected to the power, and all of these wires were connected to the power for the LEDs, right? So the transistor maybe let the current by. I don't know. I think that the transistor just couldn't handle the polarity being reversed on it. Do you trade T-bonds? If I trade treasuries, we're talking about a little project that I was doing, so you can't see them, but we need to bring ZN back up. Where'd you go, ZN? There you are. Still kind of half tempted to go long the rate, but I'm not so sure that makes sense. Like, am I really doing that for a reason? Well, what could be the reason that we would want to go long rates? Could be that the manufacturing data comes in positive and consumer sentiment comes in positive. Then maybe we would want to do that, right? Stick says the ground you said wasn't. I don't know for sure. It's possible that the ground wasn't connected properly. The ground is needed by the transistor, right? Also, I wasn't necessarily connected to the ground. I was connected to the negative. Like the ground was connected to the negative. Which, again, that's the way this other one. I actually can show you this. Hold on. So here's the one that works. Let me put that. I didn't disconnect it from the power supply. So here's the one that works. So do you see how I've got like, I got the two wires coming in, or I got the two wires coming in from the bottom here, and then they connect into these strips, right? And then the LEDs all come off of those strips. And then I have little jump lines that one goes from the negative side of the strips to the ground, and this other one goes to the 5 volt over here. Well, that could also be the problem. Maybe what I need to do is this actually needs to go to, well, but I don't, negative is the same thing as ground, right? For DC current. I don't know. I've never heard of the person you're talking about, Joan. Indicators, generally speaking, aren't. I don't know. I mean, there's use for indicators, but. I can even show you here. Oh, so Gus is that, I forgot. You asked that question, Gus. Tick strike. So yeah, the guy from Financial Juice actually approached me and said, like, we'd like, your guys in your stream to know more about it or whatever. Like, we'd like to do something together with it. But I was like, well, I don't know if I personally have too much use for it because I have my own sounds that I do. You know what I mean? I haven't talked to him about it since, but it's definitely something that a lot of people talk about. I suppose it would really be specific to the individual as to whether or not it's really actually useful. For me, like I said, I have other notification sounds that I rely upon, so I think that it would just be noise to me. Showing M-Box Wave Wyckoff trading. I gotta tell you what. Okay, so here's what the deal is with a Wyckoff. Okay, there was earlier in the year, there was a big thing in the cryptocurrency community where they were saying that Bitcoin was doing the Wyckoff pattern. Okay, and so Wyckoff took off as a search term, but although I think that Wyckoff did have some clever insights into how price moves, the whole like Wyckoff system does not really work. Just the whole idea that it's like there's going to be a pattern and then you buy it here, and it doesn't work that way. Okay, so here's the project that I built it off of. And he has these pictures, so you can kind of see. Waiting for the sethometer. Well, we've got some good indicators. Okay, so now you can really see, right? I have two wires that come in. Now, maybe those wires just need to be thicker. That might be part of it. So maybe I just need to make those wires thicker. Maybe that's why those were getting hot. Where do you buy parts? I just bought them online. I bought the power supply from Amazon. And
Mom says traders, will you please take a quick second to hit the like button to help the channel numbers? Thanks.
okay, so yeah, he has it the same way, right? There's the negative line goes to the ground pin, and then the live line goes to the VIN. I mean, it worked. Maybe it's just that when I was doing it like that, too much power going through that cable, and that's why it got hot. Could it just be that I was using too small of a cable? I don't know. It's kind of interesting how he has it attached to the Arduino. Seems to be better than what I had. Arduino has its own coding. Yes, it does. It's pretty simple and straightforward, though. The thing is that the code that this guy wrote, it was like has assembly in it, so that's why I had to go and start building my own stuff. Another thing that he's doing that I did not do was have on the other side them plug back into the power supply. I'm not doing that. How much was the Arduino? So I just purchased another one. No, it's like $25. So yesterday I went and I got a new one to replace the one that I fried, and it's like $25. If you pay for them to fill in headers for you. Here, I'll show you. This is this one right here. Yeah, a Raspberry Pi is like a whole computer. That's like $100. Yeah. No, it's only like, you see, it's $20, but once you add shipping and everything into it, it's about 25. You can also get it with or without the headers. So the one that I got didn't have the headers attached. So basically, they give you these things, and then you can solder them on yourself, or you can like put it directly onto another board or something like that. But I got the one with the headers. Anyways, but the reason I selected this one is because it has Wi-Fi. Memory. This regularly happens to me during soldering of ICs that are programmed when someone overheats the chip. I don't know. Anyways, so if you come back to this image right here, when I reverse the polarity, this little guy right here got hot. Started smoking. Arduinos are made in Italy? I think so. Well, the thing that's interesting about it is that it's like an open source board design. So there's like a bunch of knockoffs. Like you can go and buy them from these people, but there's like anybody can manufacture them. Is my understanding, at least. I don't know. It must have been that this Maybe the ground was just not well connected. I don't know. So really bothering me that I don't, because I'm going to get the thing back. I don't want to, I can avoid the mistake that I made that caused me to fry it. I also think I'm going to do a couple of different things. I think that the part where the wires go into the Arduino, I was doing it like I was putting it on a perf board, and I was putting the wires through the perf board and then connecting them up on the back like that. I think what I should do is I should do the power regulation part on a different perf board, and then attach this Arduino to a second board, and then connect the wires directly to the pins. And that will be a lot easier and cleaner to solder, because I won't have to have bridges right next to each other with the possibility that they, crosswire or whatever. You just have to do a little dab on each pin. But it's the only reason why I was talking about this is because Stickball was saying, I don't know why that would happen. It seems to me that if you reverse the polarity, that it will fry your chip. Okay. But the thing that I don't know that really bothers me is, why did the wires get hot? The two wires must have been crossed. I don't know. That, or those wires just need to be thicker. I am noticing that in this image here, that this guy, his cord is way thicker. So that could also be a thing. Maybe I need to go to, I'll ask my dad, and he might have a good idea of why. I guess what I need to do is I need to get more involved with local people that probably really do it a lot. So what's the plan? So we're going to put them here in the office between the chalkboard and the bookcase. And because it will be on Wi-Fi, it should be able to display current market prices. So probably at first we'll just have it as like a traditional news scroller. But then we might make it so that like you guys on stream can interact with it. Like that thick of a wire is thick enough for the mains current. So you think that using that if this wasn't a thick wire and it was just the same thickness as these jumper cables, that it would have been fine? Because that's basically what I was doing. And I mean, Stickball says yep. And see, that's my understanding too. Yep, no, yep, what, no. Maybe the resistors, I don't know. So on mine basically looks just like this image. Mine's a little bit cleaner. And these cables are the same thickness as these jumper cables here. He says it wouldn't cause a problem. Yeah, okay. So the question is, the wire being smaller means the wire will melt? Well, but that is exactly what happened. So if the So if the wire was thicker, then it won't get hot? Stick says, wait, what? Okay, let's back up. You're trying to respond to my things at in the same time, and you're just trying to say yes or no, and so I'm not sure which statement you're responding to. Okay, so if I use a thinner wire, will that cause the wire to get hot and melt? Sickball says yes. So that was probably the cause of problem number 1. So if I go and I get a thicker wire, then it's less likely to melt. The smaller wire reduces the current. Do you know what's the difference between the NASDAQ and EDGX? Well, they're just completely different exchanges. The smaller wire will reduce the current, and the current that is reduced is wasted on heat. So then why does it not do that on my other one? Perhaps it does do it on the other one, and I just never noticed that those wires are getting hot. Or perhaps it's because I don't have it plugged into the VIN. I have it plugged into the 5 volt. Either way, I think my plan is should not happen. What dodgy power supply are you using? It's a fair question. It's this. I don't know what. I don't know. Is it just a power supply? That thing must be loud. No, it's not at all. Unless there's something wrong. Get a multimeter and check the output. So you're saying take my multimeter, connect one side to the positive and one side to the negative, and make sure that it is putting out 5 volts. You're powering LEDs, not a fucking refrigerator, right? Well, I do kind of wonder, like, why is this so big? If it's just a 5 volt, I don't get it. Put one multi-meter lead into the COM. What do you mean by the COM? But be careful, because measuring current can melt your multimeter. So what I did do was I took on the board part where I did the two, where I connected the LEDs to the power. I would measure these two, and it was coming out at 5 volts. So that seems like that was correct. I don't know. I don't know. It's so weird, right? But having a high current draw will be because of a short circuit in your Arduino. Yeah, it's a DC power supply. So you plug in, it's exactly like this one right here. Is exactly like this right here. So you put in your, like the plug into the wall, and then you get a V plus and a V minus. Mine is like literally the exact same thing, except for you can kind of see the internals here, and that's mirror image. The cord is on this side. And yeah, I don't know. This is going to say, if I took a cord and went from the V minus to the V plus and it was just a cord, that would be, that would melt the wire, right? Why do you need 300 watts? Well, is it 300 watts? I don't think it's 300 watts. It's not like watts. They don't measure that in watts, right? They're 5 volt, 20 amps DC output. Yeah, his is brighter. mine is 20 amps. Does it say that on there somewhere? Yeah, his is 60 amps. Bright. Probably would make the LEDs really bright. Which I have to say, with the 20 amps that I was putting out on them, when those LEDs lit up, it was bright. Like, oh my gosh, it was bright. Okay, so if it's 300 watts, then mine is a 20 amp. Then that means mine's 100 watts. Right? But imagine 20 amps flowing through a small wire. Okay. So then how come the other one doesn't do it? That's the confusing thing to me. Like, I set it up exactly the same way as the other one. It must have something to do with the way that the different board is regulating the power. So it might be that I did something like I heated the oh, you know what could have happened? Okay, theory. What if I did all of this, I had these wires coming in here, right? I do the blue. Maybe what happened was I had to connect the headers, so I had to put a little bit of solder on each one of these, right? But what if when I was soldering around here, I damaged this thing, and that's what was causing it to pull so much current? And then, so we got to figure out what that is. What was it that died? The schematics, I think. Nope, I don't think that's it. Stickball says it has to be if there was no load on the circuit that would cause some wire to melt. Yeah, for sure. And I don't think it was doing it in the beginning. I think it was probably while I was screwing around with everything. Because no load equals low resistance, meaning the wire will have 60 amps going through it. I get you. Yeah. Okay, so the open here on the E-mini is so far been bearish. And the treasury is moving higher. We still got about 20 minutes until the news. Pretty sparse stream today, by the way. I guess this is around probably people coming in and like, well, I don't want to talk about this. I want to talk about the market. That's okay though. I want to figure it out. How do I? Oh man, I have seen these documentations that explained what all of the different things are. Six gauge wire. What gauge was your wire? I don't know. They were like jumper cable wires, right? They were like your standard jumper cable wires, and the inside it's not solid core, it's like a bunch of little ones, which is really annoying to try and solder, by the way. Board schematic. Maybe look at the images. That's it right there. MEMS oscillator. What is that? Timing devices that generate highly stable reference frequencies, which can measure time. These reference frequencies may be used to sequence electronic systems. Oh, that's the Wi-Fi unit. Okay. Some semiconductors, MOSFETs, have a parasitic diode anti-parallel that will conduce if you apply reverse polarity to them. Okay. So I guess we just have to try again. Well, the treasuries went higher, huh? Because of the risk off in the E-mini? I don't know if the risk off in the E-mini is a huge deal. But I also not so sure that you're ahead of some pretty significant news at the top of the hour if really makes sense to make a trade. Okay, so at the top of the hour, we are going to get ISM manufacturing numbers and Michigan consumer sentiment. I think those are it, right? Yeah, and sentiment, and there's also at 9:20, there's going to be New York Fed Treasury purchases 2.25 to 4.5 years. So that's also going to be relevant to us in the treasuries, but not as widely watched of a number. Ouch, 4,300. Well, I suppose we had a really crazy up move in the overnight, so this might not be like the end of the world over there in the treasuries, but sorry, in the equities. We got a lot of big news next week too, so even though we got some pretty significant numbers today, I don't necessarily want to blow my whole load on that, right? If your PSU was rated for lower current, the PSU would have caught fire too. Oh yeah, like it started making a sound. So like as soon as I plugged it in, like I immediately knew. And that wasn't the first time that I had made that mistake either. So it might have been that the first time it kind of damaged it a little bit, and then the second time it was like, the damage that had been done from the first time came through and blew it. But I think we know what we gotta do, right? Gonna use two separate ports so that the power stuff is done on one, and that way I can turn the chip around and solder the data lines directly to the chip, and not have to do the bridges. And I'm gonna use thicker wires for the stuff coming onto the main board. Right, those are three things. Thicker wires, directly soldering them onto the thing. Oh, Stickball says that thicker wires doesn't matter. Okay. The wire shouldn't be, yeah, okay. You want the wire to melt because otherwise the circuit will melt. Well, the other one is fine. Yeah. So the theory that I damaged the board somehow before that, and that's why it was getting hot, I think is our most solid theory. Because this one does not do that. Granted, I have it connected up a little bit differently. I have on that board, I can connect it into the 5-volt and instead of the VIN. But I think it's the same thing. I don't know, like the treasury might come back here. It's a little curious to me that even though the treasury here, the 10-year, moved up like 4 ticks, that the micros didn't move as much. I mean, I guess they did move 8 down, but seems like it should have done more. Anyways, I got the day off, so I thought that I was going to spend the day working on, that's why I wanted to have it. I was like, okay, so then I can spend the whole weekend programming it. Well, that's not going to happen, but it's probably for the best, because what I'm going to have to do is, what are we going to do? We're going to write some scripts and record some things and edit the video that I had recorded earlier. Yeah. And then my wife is going to be around tomorrow too, which means that I can record videos. So what I should do is I can probably brush off the script about is future trading for you, and for DOM basics, and I might be able to record all of that, and I could have like 4 or 5 videos in queue if I work hard. So we'll see how far I get. So definitely not posting videos has been hurting the stream a lot. Although I also think something has changed in YouTube, because normally we're around 24 viewers and recently we've only had like 15. Even though it's the same group of you guys in chat, so what potential do you think we have to anticipate the trend for next week's numbers off of today's? Any correlation? They're going to matter a little bit. I mean, the big one that we get next week is the jobs number, right? So there is going to be a little bit of carryover from that, but there's so many other factors that you're going to want to put into that jobs number that by the time that Thursday comes in, you're going to have a lot of data to look through to try and predict what the jobs number is going to be. And DOM comparisons, I kind of feel like you can use the NinjaTrader DOM or the Sierra Charts DOM or the Trading Technologies one. And there are other ones that are kind of acceptable, but if you're really serious about the DOM, you're going to be using one of those 3. If you buy an inline fuse, you can put it in the circuit and it will prevent fires. Oh, really? I might want to do that. Oh, I see. So if I go, since my power supply is a 20 amp, you can go and find a 20 amp fuse, and then if it gets to something happens, that's a good idea. Because after all this, I'm a little concerned about, I'm not gonna like melt, I'm not gonna start a house fire, am I? Quant Tower is good too. I would say that the Quant Tower DOM is acceptable, but it's not quite as good as the other ones. Quant Tower I feel is a little wonky. It's probably it's not going to be like that for long. It's just like a really new platform, right? The inside glass melts and cuts the circuit. Well, that's a good idea. So it does look to me like people are maybe positioning for this news. So let's just come through here. So the manufacturing PMI, we're looking for a reading of 59.5. I would expect that we're down below that a little bit. And then the Michigan expectations final, 67, conditions 77, 1-year inflation 4.8. So that 1-year inflation expectation is going to be more important than it usually is, especially if it's a lot higher than 5%. Introducing Jigsaw affiliate and refer a friend programs, the sequel? What? So they're getting rid of the, you know, the whole email to refer a friend thing and just pushing people over to the affiliate program, I think. Mm-hmm. You seem to be not too interested in the markets today. No, well, we were talking about that thing. I was more interested in that, I guess. But I'm not too anxious to do anything until we get this news. What's the affiliate? So for Jigsaw users, you can refer people, right? So basically they used to have a system where you could go in and you could email. Like if you wanted to refer a friend, you could email them. I must not be on very well. Got to collect my thoughts. Okay, so it used to be that if you wanted to refer a friend for Jigsaw, that you had to get their email and you put it into a little form, and then it would send them an email, and then if they bought off of that email, then it would work. Okay, but then for some other people like myself, there was an affiliate program, so you could give them a link, right? Well, they basically said, well, everybody should really be using the affiliate program. And also they changed some of the technology behind how that affiliate program worked. So it used to be that it was based off of a cookie. So if people had their cookies blocked, then I guess you wouldn't get the credit or whatever. So then they've changed that. So it doesn't change anything for me, but I suppose it means that those of you here on the stream, if you refer a friend to Jigsaw, you can get the affiliate credit just like I do. I suppose that you always could have done the affiliate program, but I don't think that it was just like open to everybody, like anybody could sign up. At least I don't ever remember them putting something out like that. So that's cool. I don't know if that means that I have to update my link, but it is good that we're going to be doing all these videos about the DOM, because many companies are promoting. He says, too bad no one I know trades. Right. But the more interesting thing for you guys, I think, is that Jigsaw is trying to ramp up its business, right? It appears that Peter is putting more efforts into trying to expand and put more resources into making it a good platform. Okay, so I am seeing some size pull here quite early. Look at that. Good, Uzi, you're there. You are saving a lot of suffering. There you go. Okay, here we go. That's good. Conditions. Oh, man. All of those numbers were good. Yeah, this is looking good. So every single number, so we'll read them through now. Manufacturing PMI 60.7 versus the expected 60.5, so higher. Michigan sentiment 72.8 versus 71, so sentiment was higher. Manufacturing PMI 61.1 versus 59.5. Okay. Manufacturing prices played 81.2 versus 78.5. 1 year inflation expectations 4.6 versus 4.8. So pretty much everything was good. Now that the inflation expectations does kind of fall in line with, like, maybe it's transitory, but overall, I think you kind of look at all of these things and you say, yeah, the Federal Reserve tapering asset purchases appears to be appropriate. Is what I think we're getting here. And we got a pretty good move down. Also, we should just note that the market was anticipating it. Like, they pulled pretty aggressively before, and you can see the E-mini, it seems to like it. They haven't really taken off, but look, the activity level in the S&P 500 has increased dramatically. We'll see if it really takes off. Once they get above, like, say 4310, then we might get some more further upside in the S&P 500. It could push the treasuries down. Seems like all the easy riders playing games and watching Marvel movies have anxiety and depression problems. I'm over here day trading, trying to keep a small business alive during the Biden regime and trying to keep a 40-year-old house from collapsing on my head, and I ain't nowhere near as messed up in the head as the Star Wars boys tend to be. Oh, I don't know about that. Are the Star Wars boys that bad? I think that, I saw this interesting thing from Jordan Peterson the other day. And a guy asked him, like, is it okay to say, oh, I don't want to be in a relationship? And Jordan, because he didn't want to say, like, that's bad. But what he did say was, like, probably you'll go crazy. And he kind of talked about how basically other people keep you in line. So if you start to go off the deep end a little bit, then other people will say, no, like, what you're doing is dumb. What you're saying is dumb and whatnot, whatever. So being completely alone and not talking to anybody, you don't have any check on you. And so you start to get weird. And I think that for some young men, that very much happens, like, particularly during the pandemic, is just like they're online and they don't really interact with people very often. And so you kind of go off the deep end a little bit. Yeah. But, you're also married. That helps. Being married helps, right? I don't know a single 40-year-old Star Wars boy who ain't on at least 3 medications and struggle with basic life skills immensely. Huh? That's interesting. Okay, so I am detecting a bit of a liquidity pocket here. Oh, E-mini turning back around there. So they did not quite go for the the levels that I was kind of looking at, that would be like the S&P 500 is looking really good. Now, is that because they're concerned about rising rates here, or is it something else that I'm missing? I'm missing something. Traps everywhere, huh? Lead times are extending, shipping lanes are slowing, and we'll not see an end to this in 2021. Customer demand continues to swell as we prepare for the fourth quarter, and overall growth has been extremely good for the year. Supply chain concerns are growing beyond electronics and chips into most other commodities. It's kind of funny because you tend to think of nerds as smart people, right? The guy that plays a lot of video games, loves D&D and shit, all their hobbies require some level of analytical skills, but gosh dang if they don't understand a lawnmower has a height setting. Well, I don't know if that's actually true. So I've noticed in my lifetime the definition of a nerd change. In it used to be that it was very much like you had to be into computers and sciencey stuff, and that made you a nerd or a geek. But then all of a sudden it turned into, oh, if you liked the Lord of the Rings movies and Star Wars, you're a geek. But it's like, look, it doesn't take analytical skill to like Star Wars. So like everybody likes Star Wars. There's something wrong with you if you hate Star Wars. Like that was like a red flag. If I met a girl that hated Star Wars, it was like, okay, no thanks. But everybody likes those movies. So if you are if you come in and you like, does that make you? No, it doesn't make you a nerd. You know what I mean? Well, this is not going so well for me right now, is it? They definitely moved in the right direction there initially. I didn't get as much favorable excursion as I would have liked. It's pulling back the other way. It appears to be off of liquidity hole. You hate Star Wars? I don't. So generally speaking, if you hate Star Wars, it kind of signals a cultural thing. So like, why do you hate Star Wars? It's probably because you hate the culture that surrounds it, right? Well, I suppose we could even say that because you're like really, really trashing the Star Wars fanboys, right? And a girl, I think it's like a big red. I think it's a big red flag because there are some girls that hate Star Wars just because like guys like it. You know what I mean? Uzi says combination of both, really. Bad acting, sometimes silly. You know, I'm not that into the movies, but actually, come to think of it, I mean, I'm probably like now The Mandalorian, that was so good. I thought The Mandalorian was great. I really like The Mandalorian. I suppose I'm not that seriously into media, like movies and stuff. Like the whole thing of being like a big fanboy of a particular show or something, like I kind of see like the draw to it and wanting to do that, but then I'm just like meh. Like, I've never done that. Clearly a culture for incapable adults that care more about movies and hobbies than they do about their lives. Well, a lot of people ain't got none. Wow, that churned back up awfully quickly. There are definitely people out there that they care more about their personal lives, man. I've met some people. I remember this one guy that he just like, he's just the grossest guy I've ever met. Like, he's just extremely unattractive. But I think that a large part of why he's so unattractive is because he's basically like relegated himself to that he's an incel. Like, you know, if he was working out and doing everything he could to improve himself, it wouldn't be that bad. I mean, obviously not the top tier person, but come on. And yeah, he just doesn't take care of himself at all. So what's going on in the yen here? You aren't surrounded by incapable adult children letting their houses crumble around them? Oh, is your neighborhood getting really bad, huh? Man. Hmm. Dang, this is just not giving any opportunities to get out. So when I was there at 10, I was trying to look for it, and then it was just kept going and going and going. That's unfortunate. I mean, I thought I had a pretty good trade and everything. That might be a reversal of the news. Like, they might be saying, yeah, the news is good, but there's all of these signs of supply strains, and that these supply strains are going to hurt the economy. You're having problems with NinjaTrader and you restarted your PC and it worked. Well, that's weird. I've never had that kind of problem. That probably could have been a little bit more patient on getting out there, but And now the flow is just completely backwards again. I don't know. I'm having a hard time making sense of this. I feel like that if I get in again, that they're just going to slam it back up to the top. The S&P 500 also not. I mean, look at that. Okay, that is an unhappy S&P. What's with that? Ooh, look at that. Treasuries aren't going to bid on that. There you go. That's what I thought. Regarding NASDAQ and Edge exchanges, do you think it's good to have both spot SPX and QQQ data? Well, okay, so if you're trading on the CME and you have the NASDAQ futures and the S&P 500 futures and you get it, all of that, you don't have to get the other exchanges for that. And that's how I would do it. Because to get like true data from both the NASDAQ and the EDGX, I think you have to pay, like, I think just for the indexes, you have to pay like $5 a month, right? But all I can say is that it sounds like what you're trying to do is really weird and unusual, and there's probably a reason for that. And so you have to wonder if that's really actually going to give you an edge, or if everybody else is just doing something that's a lot easier and more efficient. It's $100 a month for both. Yeah, that sounds. Just get the CME bundle. I don't know. What do you think's going on in ES? I didn't see any news or anything like that. CME data is too thick to read. What do you mean? Are you going to actually trade the... You're going to try and actually trade the book on QQQ and SPX? So Alligator says, in my opinion, trend was in place before, but move on hold until numbers. I don't know. Yeah, it could be that it's just buy. The SPX, the ES still looks angry to me. Look, it's doing it right there at the high. Oh. that there were kind of there was some iceberging going on at 01, but then it fell through and it didn't actually happen. If I wanted to create a synthetic instrument from 5 different stocks, how would I go about it? Would a spread chart make sense? Well, that's what my dollar index thing is, right? You have to go and add all of the data series into an indicator and then do a calculation to determine what the output of that index is and how much you weight each component. And then you might want to add in some logic to deal with, each tick to track what the high and low of that thing actually was. Your dollar index is a spread chart. Well, it's not a spread, but it's a synthetic instrument based on like 7 different things. Or should you use plus, minus, or times? So I think that generally you add them together. It will be like component 1 times a factor plus component 2 times a factor. Right. It's trading a range because price is still settling as people digest the information for their own positions. Well, I don't know. I think that what happened was definitely there was a hole. Like there was a liquidity hole. We moved down, came back. So I didn't get the extension on the move that I wanted. But now you notice they came right back up and the trend has been up. Like there's been some buy-in volume. It was actually they really squeezed it hard, right? So I can make 2 conclusions from that. One, maybe that news was not as good as the headline numbers implied. And there's definitely that. I'm seeing over here on Twitter all of this stuff about supply chain constraints and stuff. And if we're going to have problems in supply chains, that's not good. Right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the S&P 500 didn't go up off of it. The S&P 500 has just been like cratering here. So we're getting some risk off sentiment. But then the last thing is maybe there was a reason why they were buying ahead of this, that there is still some rebalancing that needs to happen and reason for people to be buying bonds at the beginning of the month. That's favorable to that. And so maybe they decided the news wasn't a big deal and we're going to continue with our buying operation, So a couple of different theories about why it's doing what it's doing. But for now, it does appear that the trend is still up in the Treasury and down in the S&P 500. And we should probably go in and start doing some calculations about how much damage there actually could be done over in the Treasury or in the ES. Okay, so 42.85. Oh, we're already past that. 42.55 would be below yesterday's lows. I don't know. But on the trade that I took, I think that I did the right thing by buying it. I was a little slow. If I had been faster, maybe I could have gotten a better spot and I could have gotten the 20 ticks on it and been out. I don't think I managed it correctly because I really wanted it to go further, but then when it came back, I probably should have bailed a little bit earlier. Okay, so there's a step up to the highs that is looking relatively... Okay, so the 30-year is not coming along. It's still steepening. That's interesting. So the 10-year is kind of caught between those pressures. I don't know, I'm thinking it's order flow not being there and large orders executing only as the holes fill in with more orders. Well, I'm not necessarily seeing very strong indications of large players in there at the moment, but kind of seems like, well, for instance, the 6J, they're kind of following the 6J a lot. I mean, this is where you kind of have to watch the volume. There was somebody did buy in through here, right? But why? Like the deltas, they took a little bit of a hit off of that news, but then since then they've been higher. Relatively higher. So that 30-year doesn't want to come. Suppose that maybe the ES has calmed down a little bit too. That might be part of it. Can very easily change though, right? Well, I should know. We went beyond one of the first VIX levels. So chances are either they build a base here and kind of go, I guess these days they haven't been like reversing, but they kind of build a base and then maybe there's a dip later in the day. Or another wave of selling is going to come along here. In the treasury, or no, like the 10 years, the pressure still looks like it's on the upside. They're not convincing the 30 years still. The 5 years is definitely the ringleader because of the spread. Okay. They refreshed that really easily. 30 years still not moving though. The might have to swing up. The 5-year might just drag it anyways. Okay, a few ticks up there. The micro didn't move. There's going to be absorption at 1/2 again. S&P 500 falling apart here. I look pretty happy at 1/2 so far. Oh, look at that. I think you hit that. There is a lot of level 2 activity here in the treasury right now. Worst week for the S&P 500 since October of 2020. Okay. I was kind of hoping that other order would get, but whatever. Okay, so there was a big order at 03. It's kind of pulled. Yeah, it's kind of adding and pulling. So there must be a big order hidden in there that I can't see. Maybe they're being pegged so that options trades can get done. I think it's a little late for that one though, Octavius, right? Apparently before it did feel like there was a liquidity hole and then they went back to the 132 evens really easily. Okay, their iceberg at 02/2. Too late. Is it easier to code your own auto spreader or just pay $2,000 for the TT? Okay, so I don't know how the auto spreader works, to be honest with you. I've never looked into what it actually does. You could totally try and write one in NinjaTrader though. Market Lucas says, I think that the markets may have already priced in all the talks about tapering and liftoff, and what could have been moving forward is a realization that we were up by a big margin. Well, I think it's probably a little bit more complicated than that, Lucas, because you have to consider that there's just a lot of flows coming through the markets right now because of quarter end rebalancing and so forth that might not have anything to do with the trajectory of the economy or monetary policy, right? I mean, that's exactly what I think was happening the week before the Federal Reserve meeting, where it was like treasuries were like buying up like crazy, and it was like, what the heck? Because they're, is the market trying to say that they're not going to taper? And I think that it turned out that the market wasn't even considering any of that they were just doing the auctions, right? So this flow that we're seeing right now in the treasury could be the same thing. And the flow that we're seeing in the ES could just be, could just be like options driven, right? We're probably not going any higher from talks about keeping interest rates low and not tapering talk. Yeah, well, but that's what I'm saying. If this move is fundamentals driven, and I'm not convinced that it is. I think the fact that we were moving up and then we had that little move down and they just bought it back up suggests that this is a flow that's completely unrelated to any of the economic data that we just got. Right? That's what I'm thinking happened. So this is probably just people need treasuries, like they buy them at the beginning of the month and all that kind of stuff, right? But if it is fundamentals driven, then I think that it has largely to do with concerns about the economy weakening because of supply strains. Look at that 8K refreshing order on the bid at 02.5. How hard would it be to code an indicator similar to the order flow volume profile? So coding a volume profile in NinjaTrader is not all that difficult. Doing the drawing logic is kind of the hard part, but I have some videos. Basically, the 3 or 4 videos that I have about like the basic methods and using data structures in particular, that was basically all geared towards helping you be able to make your own volume profile, essentially. So yeah, you can totally do it, and you should. Okay, set up spreads and strips with up to 40 legs and actively quote up to 10 legs. Configure leg ratios, scale, order management, and legging risk profile leg placement. Okay, but how does it determine, like, if price moves up, does it do stuff like I cancel my order or put it back in based on, or is it just I want to go and buy and it automatically buys this and sells this, But all of those things are possible. The first one. No, I mean, as long as you have rules about what is right. So look, you have a complete control over where the orders go in NinjaTrader. It's really, you have complete access to all of the data, and you can put orders and modify them in any way that you want. So any of those sorts of things you could make within NinjaTrader. Absolutely. It's just a question of like, what is the actual logic behind it, right? How do you determine what your best bid and best ask is? Is it hard to make yourself? I think that programming it isn't as hard as determining the rules and what you actually want it to do. Fair enough? Man, those treasuries bid hard there, especially 02.5. Now at 03.5, I'm detecting a little bit of strain, like they can't hold it, even though I didn't see big transactions go through up there. Then why is it so expensive? I don't know. Because I think that it's so expensive largely because the people that use it make money from it and are willing to pay for that. It's probably really what it comes down to. Why doesn't someone make it? Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that they even say completely how the auto spreader works, do they? So there might be some complicated algorithms in there that they're using to determine the best bid and best ask that aren't so simple to just figure out what you want to do, right? I mean, if you have all of the rules, then of course it's easy. That's what I'm saying. Programming it isn't as hard as determining what you actually want it to do. Coinbase saying that hackers stole cryptocurrency from users. Okay, cool. Some people were saying there must be some bad news out there in the cryptocurrency world because of the bid that we had, but if that was it, that wasn't enough. Probably that wasn't it. Okay, so they did come back to the O2 half where the iceberg was. Smart quote. See, it's probably placing auto bids and asks. Dave fell asleep. Oh no, Dave. It's too early to be doing that. Man, is this coming? Well, I don't know. So when I look at the S&P 500, I'm not sure if there's going to be more. That thing kind of looks like they're just going to chop around for a while now. Now in the Treasury, that kind of died off, so we probably missed an exit there. I was thinking about like taking it off right there. Now we're getting the pullback. How easily can they come back up there, and how quickly might they come back up there? Hackers robbed thousands of Coinbase customers using MFA flaws. See, Bitfinex is saying that must have been the reason why they pushed price up. But I don't know. So far, the cryptocurrency market doesn't seem to be reacting to that. What happened? Well, so the news came out and we had a pretty good move down in the Treasury prices that then completely reversed. And then we had a move up that was quite dramatic. And we actually continue to be levitating here. Holy moly. And then Coinbase is saying that hackers stole money from thousands of users. Okay. Crypto exchange Coinbase disclosed that a threat actor stole cryptocurrency from 6,000 customers after using a vulnerability to bypass the company's SMS multi-factor authentication security feature. From 6,000 customers, that sounds pretty significant, no? It's actually a really big problem because so many people have just been keeping their money on the exchange. And, it used to be, oh, you don't keep your money on the exchange. But then they said, well, yeah, but if you keep it in your own wallet, you won't be able to get it back out. So, and Coinbase is safe. And now they're saying, oh, nope, it's not safe. 6,000 people got stolen from. Was it? No, was not me. Jake Sherman tweets, Pelosi in a closed Dem caucus meeting said it's still September 30th in terms of the legislative day. Lawmakers laugh. Pelosi then references the Umberto Eco book at the island of the day before. Okay. Was this BTS Spark? That sounds like a Arduino thing. No. Okay, Ignite your futures trading. It looks like TT. I've never heard of them before, no. Faster response times? Okay. Algo Studio. Well, it looks like TT. It looks a lot like TT. So here's the thing with this cryptocurrency headline. I don't see how much money was actually stolen, right? When they come back and they say $1 billion worth of cryptocurrency was stolen from 6,000 users at Coinbase, then all of a sudden it's going to be like, oh shit, right? That's why I'm hoping for it to be cheaper. It could be. But again, I don't completely understand what the auto spreader does, nor do I know why it would be particularly useful to a retail trader, right? It's probably a different thing if you have cheap commissions. That's interesting. I think I just really want to just get rid of him. Sounds like somebody lost money. Okay, so Alligator was prodding liquidity the other day, right? And I guess he wasn't around and he didn't say anything. And so he just responded to it now. And he said, sorry, I'm not gay. It's okay that you are. I'm just not interested. So leave me alone. And I'm sitting here like, you know that Alligator can just ban you, right? Like... Alligator says you're the only one to introduce the subject. Chad, what the heck? So Dave comes into the channel. I wish I was gay. Okay, Chad. Wait to break the tension. I got 10 minutes left. I don't know. The treasuries look like pretty well bid. Like they may go higher later in the session. I don't know if I want to stick around for it. You're still in that? Oh, he tried 130. Or 13 even. He We'll see you guys later. Lots of love from London. Yeah, hey, so see you later. Probably I'll just end the stream here and let them and then not deal with we'll read this thing in Discord because clearly I'm more interested in that. There you go. Okay, what do we put in for right now? October starts with more risk off. Okay, you did that. Okay, guys, I will see you guys on Monday later.